Hi friends and welcome to the video. I'm Olivia, and if you've never seen my face before, you can consider me your fragrance fairy godmother. That's right friends, I have updated my title. I'm now gonna call myself the fragrance fairy godmother. You know why? Because I am here to bless you with all of the information regarding fragrance. Whether you're a beginner or you are a niche enthusiast, all are welcome here. And today specifically, I'm going to be giving you my unfiltered thoughts on popular designer perfumes. I got some feedback from you guys that you enjoyed last week's video of keeping things a little bit more casual, so that's what we're gonna do today. We're just going to sit, hang out, and talk about perfumes. Now I'm gonna give a little disclaimer. I am probably going to say some things today that some people are not going to agree with and they're not going to like, but just keep in mind, this is just an opinion. We're just having fun. It's not that serious. It's smelly water. We're treating this place as an oasis to have a little bit of fun away from the world. So for the purposes of today's video, I am going to be going on the Sephora website and going into their fragrance section, and then I'm going to be filtering it by most popular. My question is, should I be doing best selling or top rated? I'm not really sure. I'm gonna go with best selling. That just feels right. Let's try that out. So without further ado, who's ready to some perfumes? Okay, first on the chopping block is Vanilla by Kayali. So I would describe this as a confection vanilla, a baker's vanilla. This is going to be very sweet, but it does have some nuance to it. It has some brown sugar, a little bit of woodiness in the base. So it is sweet, it's sugary, but it has a little bit of richness, and it has a touch of florals. A lot of people say that they don't smell the florals, but personally, I do. Now, my personal opinion on this fragrance is that it's worth the hype. I know that you guys thought that I was going to say something negative, but I personally think that this fragrance is worth the hype. It is delicious, it layers with everything. I think it's very versatile. Now, my only gripe with it is that it only lasts about 6 hours. Now, for me, a lot of people say, oh, it really doesn't last long at all. I do get about 6 hours, but my bottle has macerated. And what I've noticed with Kayali fragrances is that they need to sit. Almost all of them, except for my favorite, Invite Only, as you guys know. That one did not need to sit, but all of the rest of them need a little bit of time to macerate before they have lasting power. So for me, I do get a moderate 6 hours, but I do enjoy this fragrance and I think it's worth the hype. Next is Valentino Donna Born in Roma. And I gotta say, this is a total snooze fest of a fragrance. Now don't get me wrong, does it smell bad? No, it doesn't smell bad at all. And to be honest, most designer fragrances don't smell that bad because they are meant for mass market. So that means they need to reach a wide audience. So they have to be very likable, very palatable for a lot of different noses. I wouldn't say that this is a bad fragrance by any means, but it is just so very basic. Now, don't get me wrong. I like basic sometimes. Sometimes I do not want a complicated fragrance. I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood to be challenged by my fragrances that smell like wet ground and cigarettes, okay? Sometimes we do just want simplicity in our lives. So for that purpose, it's fabulous. But I just want a little bit more uniqueness than that. I mean, it is a sweet, fruity floral. Not much to it. I will say though, I did get a chance to smell the intense version in the darker bottle. I found the jasmine in that, instead of being this like candied, sweet, perfumey jasmine, I found it to smell much more natural. Now, with that being said, you guys know how I feel about natural smelling jasmines. They smell like pee-pee, which is funny because they just came out with a version called Pink Pee-Pee, which I now realize is initials for somebody. I can't remember who off the top of my head, if I'm being honest, but I just found it funny that they would call it Pink Pee-Pee. So with a name like Pink Pee-Pee, I would want that one to smell a little bit more indolic, like the intense version. It just makes sense with the name. Next up is Miss Dior Eau de Parfum. And I personally find this one to be a headache in a bottle. Now it's going to sound like I don't like floral fragrances, and that is not true. But I don't think I like florals done in the commercial sense, where they're very sweet and they tend to be a little bit sharp. For me, this is just a floral bomb, and I know people ride or die by this fragrance, but I've never liked it. I got a dupe in the very beginning from Dossier, and it was nearly spot on, and I wore a little bit too much of this, and my husband literally asked me if I could change my shirt because of how strong and sharp the florals were in that fragrance. This is a bit of a conundrum because on the one hand, I don't like how commercial floral fragrances smell that much. But then on the other hand, if they're super duper natural, I smell that pee-pee thing. So it has to be somewhere in the middle. I want a little synthetic and I want a little natural. And to me, this is just too synthetic smelling. Next up is Carolina Herrera Good Girl. And to be frank, this bottle is terrible. It is so tacky. I know it's kind of kitschy, right? It's camp, but I don't think it's supposed to be camp. That's the thing. So it doesn't lean camp enough that I think it's fun and whimsical and tacky in a good way. It's just tacky in a bad way. But with that being said, I do enjoy this fragrance. This fragrance seems to get a lot of hate online, but I personally think that it smells creamy. It smells floral in a way that I enjoy, and it smells sexy. This is a sexy date night fragrance. I love the little bit of coffee in there, and I just think that this is a gorgeous fragrance. Now, as I say that this is a sexy fragrance, I kind of find it funny because my brother bought it for me for my birthday. I personally don't think that it deserves all the hate it warrants online, but as we know online, sometimes people get on this hate parade and they just enjoy to be part of the hateful crowd, right? It's kind of a mob that happens. It happened with Black Opium, and if I'm being honest, I was kind of part of that. But I will talk about a Black Opium that I enjoy later in this video. And apparently later is now because it's the next one on our list. YSL Black Opium. Is this the most hated fragrance on the internet? And does it deserve it? Now, as I said, I was a part of the hate train for quite some time because the white florals in this, to me, are done in a way, once again, that are scratchy and not very well blended. I have complimented Black Opium Le Parfum. That is the version in the dark black bottle that is opaque, that has more vanilla. And I have complimented that on people in the wild so many times. In fact, I did it today. And if you guys follow me over on Instagram, I talked about the fragrances that are on sale at the Sephora sale that's going on right now. And Black Opium Le Parfum is on my list. I am going to be purchasing that fragrance. So my opinion on the original is that the florals are a little bit too scratchy and synthetic, and it doesn't feel very smoothly blended, but there is hope yet because the Le Parfum version is great. Next up on our list is Glossier U. Back when Glossier opened a storefront, or maybe it was just a pop-up in Los Angeles, I was one of the people that waited in line. I was so excited to try their makeup, and I actually ended up picking up the fragrance. Now, I don't know if it has gone through a reformulation over the years, but this is a powdery second skin, your skin but better sort of iris fragrance. And I don't recall back then it having so much of that pink pepper note. And to me, to my nose now, I love it on other people. But when I wear it on myself, that pink pepper, and I don't know if it's been reformulated, is so intense that it gives me a terrible headache. But I think that this is so signature scent worthy. I actually complimented my best friend's mom when she came to get her hair done with me. I said, "Are you wearing a perfume that's in a pink bottle with a red cap?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That smells very good on you." She was a little bit disturbed that I knew what it was because she didn't know about my secret life as a perfume reviewer. And like I said, it smells fabulous on other people, but when I wear it on myself, that black pepper just assaults my nostrils. Next on the list is Prada Paradox. And I share the same sentiment about this fragrance that I do with Donna Born in Roma. That this is a boring ass floral, fruity fragrance once again. It's a bubblegummy white floral. It smells similar to My Way and a million other things on the market. And I think that this gained popularity because they sent quite a few packages in PR. And I think sometimes people want to stay in good graces with brands, so they will talk about them. But I think it is important to note that this does smell redundant to a lot of fragrances. So if you do have something that is that bubblegum tuberose sort of fragrance, you already have this perfume. You do not need to waste your money if you already own My Way. To clarify, it doesn't smell bad. It is very pleasant. It is very sweet and young and fresh and girly. But it's just redundant. I don't know what else to say. Next on the list is Burberry Her. I will preface by saying that I have a bit of a bias because my husband wears this fragrance. So obviously I have nice memories attached to this fragrance, but if I am to scrub all of those biases out of my head, I am apathetic about this fragrance. I think that it smells musky and fruity and fresh. It's not particularly interesting, but I don't think it smells as bad as some people say. A lot of people say that this smells like burnt plastic or it smells like cough syrup. I don't really get that. I just think it is a rather mid fragrance. Now, I do have warm memories for it. So I personally have the elixir version, which I find to be a little bit more creamy. I find those florals to be a little bit more idyllic in a way that I enjoy. I know I am being such a conundrum right now, but I just think that that one has a little bit more character, a little bit more depth. So this is the case in which the flanker, although slightly redundant, is just a soft tweak on the original, and therefore I do like it better. Next is Flower Bomb by Viktor and Rolf. I 1000% was a Flower Bomb girly back in the day, and it's funny, I feel weird wearing it now because my husband's brother has told me before that that always reminds him of his ex-girlfriend, and he can't stand when his female coworkers wear it because he's like, oh, I love that fragrance so much. So I think it puts him in a mind space, therefore I don't want to wear it while I'm around family because I don't want to bring up old memories for him. That's kind of silly. But you know, I'm trying to be respectful. And this is a basic kind of fragrance scent profile that I can actually get behind because I think that this is more robust. This does still have some character to it and it is very long lasting. So for value's sake, I do enjoy this fragrance because this is a designer fragrance that you can get up to 12 hours wear out of, which I won't say is rare, but it is not the commonality. Next is Chanel Chance Eau Tendre. I am fond of this fragrance. I purchased this fragrance for my mom, but with that being said, I do find it overpriced for what the scent profile offers. I think that this is very enjoyable, but there is something that is slightly reminiscent of Daisy by Marc Jacobs, which you can find at discount stores for much more affordable than the Chanel name boasts. I like it a lot. I think it is fluffy. I think it is musky and sweet in a beautiful way. And I was shocked to try a fragrance by the brand BDK called Bouquet de Hongrie. And when I smelled it, mind you, this is an even more expensive niche fragrance. It smelled exactly like Chance Eau Tendre to me. So obviously this is a liked scent profile. I liked it enough to send it to my mom, but I think that the price is a bit hefty for what it is. Next is Replica by The Fireplace. Now you guys probably already know what I'm going to say, that this is my scent profile right here. This is smoky and woody. It is so delicious. It lasts a long time, which I've noticed that the Replica line, some of them tend to be a little bit sheer, but this one, because it has a more dense note profile, this one lasts quite a bit of time. So for me, I find this sexy, I find this alluring. A man or woman or anybody in between could enjoy it, and I'm sure you guys already knew. That's my kind of scent right there. So it is a love for me. Next is Coco Mademoiselle. Ooh, you know what? I am very open-minded when it comes to fragrances. When you try fragrances for a long time, you try so many of them, your sense kind of changes, your opinions change, you get more familiarized with notes that you weren't comfortable with before. But I will never be comfortable with this fragrance because I think that it smells like toilet bowl cleaner. I think it smells like kitchen counter cleaner. Something about the mix of citrus and patchouli to me is just so scratchy, it's not well blended, and I just find it cheap smelling, and it is not cheap whatsoever. Now, a lot of people say that that is their signature scent. Do you, boo. If you enjoy it, great, keep enjoying it, but I'm still gonna think that you smell like you just cleaned a toilet. Sorry. Next is Versace Bright Crystal. This also shares a little bit of a cleaner vibe, but in a way that I don't dislike. I just personally find this to be a little bit too young of a scent profile for me at this time. I want something that is a little bit more womanly, and I would categorize this as a little bit more childish. And I don't mean child, I mean like early 20s, you know, a teenager, early 20s, this would be really appropriate. And at the end of the day, age doesn't matter. Like, wear what you want, but where I'm at in my stage of life, it feels like something that I would have worn when I was maybe 17, 18, 19, 20. But for me now, it's not really what I'm looking for. So it does have a little bit of that cleaner vibe, but kind of in a cutesy way. Next is Light Blue by Dolce & Gabbana. Now it seems like everyone and their mother on the internet says that this one smells like Windex. Windex where? Because to me, I think that this is a citrusy fragrance, and I realize that citrus doesn't sit well with a lot of people. They just register that as smelling like cleaner. But to me, this doesn't smell like cleaner because there's a level of masculinity that adds this layer of sexiness to it. So for me, it's fresh, musky, citrus, unisex, and it's just got a little sex appeal to it. This is one that I wore for many years. I have a lot of fond memories of, but for that purpose, I can't really wear it anymore because I associate it with a time in my life that, although was very happy and had good memories, also had some really, really trying times. So it puts me at kind of an emotional conflict when I wear it. I feel happy and I feel sad at the same time. So I do have a bias on this one. I'm relating it to something in the past, which, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, you're just being biased. You only feel that way because of XYZ. Well, yes, because I'm a human. And it's really hard for me to separate my emotions from my opinion, which I tried to be as non-biased as possible on this channel, but this is a person and I'm giving opinions. Next up is Prada Candy. It's a little bit interesting to me, the name of this fragrance, because candy, I would think something fruity. I would think something sugary. I would think something sweet. But to me, this is a powdery fragrance. It almost has something a little bit reminiscent of vintage cosmetics to me. And I've heard people say that to them, this smells like walking into an ice cream shop. And I wish I could smell what you smell. But with that being said, I like this fragrance and I'm going to call myself out. When I tried this, I always tried it on paper. I never tried it on my skin. I couldn't smell anything. I could not smell anything. And I would always be like, that's kind of weird. This just smells like alcohol. And then one day, I don't know why I was so curious about it, but I sprayed a little bit on my arm. And at first, when it first dried down, I was like, ooh, I don't think this is for me. But later in the day, once it warmed up on my skin and really did its thing, I got a whiff of it and I was like, what is that? That can't be the same fragrance. And it melded into my skin and gave just the warmest, most comforting scent. And it's sheer and it's simple, but it's just cozy. It's like a cashmere sweater. I really like it. But I urge you, if you want to try it, do not spray it on paper. Try it on skin, because on paper, if you're anything like me, I couldn't smell it. Next is Versace Crystal Noir. Now this is what I'm talking about. This is a designer perfume with some character. I get a creamy coconut, I get some spiciness, I get a sandalwood, and I think this fragrance is simple and effective and sexy. I like both the EDT and the EDP version, the EDP being a little bit more spicy, a little bit more deep, and if you like something a little bit more sheer, I'd go with the EDT, but they are quite similar. I purchased a bottle of this on MERCARI, and I believe that this was an older bottle, so it had macerated for quite some time, and that sandalwood became very milky. And I think the bottle was slowly starting to die off a little bit because that milkiness almost turned into a sour breast milk situation. Don't ask me how I know what breast milk smells like, but you know, like a milky baby's head, but they need to be bathed? Just picture that. That's what that smelled like. So you'll know that this fragrance is going bad when it starts to smell like baby burp ups. Yep, sorry about that imagery. Next is Leap by YSL. This is another one of those fragrances that no matter how hard I tried to be open-minded, I just simply don't like the combination of a sweet vanilla meets lavender. I don't like Monguerlon. I just don't like lavender along with a sweet note. Now, I don't mind lavender in men's fragrances where it adds an herbal quality to something a little bit more dark and a little bit more rich, but with these, that sweetness, it's almost like a candied lavender. I don't like it. And I'm very picky about lavender fragrances, so for me, that's just a personal thing. I don't really like lavender all that much, but it's weird because as a standalone scent, I associate it with spa, with relaxation, facial mask, massage, like it's good things. And I like how it smells in its purest form, but when mixed into fragrances with sweetness, it's not for me. Next up is Tom Ford Lost Cherry. I'm just gonna say what we are all thinking. The price tag is ridiculous on that fragrance because it just doesn't last. Now, do I enjoy it? Absolutely. Do I enjoy it less now that I've heard that people who work in mortuary services say that Lost Cherry smells like dead embalmed bodies? Yes, I do like it less. I also had my father point out that cherry fragrances can be hit or miss with men because apparently the urinal cakes in public bathrooms are scented like cherry. So thank you. So my opinion has been a little bit tainted. With all of that aside, I objectively enjoy the fragrance, but I think it's incredibly overdone now because everyone and their mother wants a cherry fragrance. So you can get something super duper similar for significantly less money and it will last longer. So that's my sentiment. I enjoy it, it doesn't last, it's too expensive. Next is Mugler Alien Goddess. This is a simple vanilla coconut fragrance. I enjoy it in the summer, I find it fresh and uplifting, but once again, this is the case that I enjoy the intense version better. Now, the intense version has some amberiness, some darkness, the florals feel a little bit more mature, and that sucker lasts. That stuff lasts. I oversprayed it at a party, and it was an outdoor party, thank God, but everyone and their mother was like, oh my God, is that you? And I kind of had to do a little bit of like a, yeah, do you like it? And luckily it was a big hit, but I kind of felt like I overdid it. So just know, out of the two, I think that the intense version is better, but proceed with caution when you're spraying it. Next is I Don't Need a Prince by My Side to Be a Princess by Kilian. This one is fabulous. This one is so fabulous. This smells like a frothy, milky, warm matcha latte. It is sweet. It's got some facets of spiciness. It has a little bit of greenness. This is a compliment getter. I have a little travel size bottle and I will certainly be buying a full size bottle because I think that this is hands down worth the money. It is delicious. It kind of reminds me of Te Matcha by Le Labo, but a little bit more on the sweet side, a little bit more on the designer side. But I think that this one is 100% worth the money. Imagine you have that matcha latte, but you also have like little marshmallows in it, maybe a little whipped cream on top. It's creamy, but it does have that spiciness. Perfection. Perfection. And lastly, we will be wrapping up today with Hypnotic Poison by Dior. Now, in my opinion, This smells like root beer and Play-Doh. And as you can imagine, I don't really care to smell like root beer and Play-Doh. I just find it weirdly powdery in a way that isn't very enjoyable for me. And there are similar fragrances that I enjoy over that one. So I hope you guys had some fun with today's video. Hopefully I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. I would love to know your guys' perspective on these fragrances. And I would also love to do a niche version of this, talking about popular niche fragrances and my unfiltered opinion. So if you would like to see that, make sure you comment down below. That's all I've got for you today. Be good, my friends. And until next Saturday, 10 a.m. PST, take care of yourselves, my friends.